Okay, folks, we are live on YouTube and we're ready to start.
Thank you very much, everybody. Can all my colleagues hear me? Okay, thank you. I call the meeting to order, our council meeting of Tuesday, May the 26th. And let us begin with a moment of silent reflection so that council staff and members of the public can quietly reflect on our duty to the community that we are trying to serve. Thank you, everybody. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of council, please be advised that these meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. I'd ask if there are any declaration of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Madam Clerk, please note that nobody raised a declaration of pecuniary interest. We'll move then, colleagues, to the minutes. We have the minutes before us of May the 12th, 2020. What is your wish?
I'll move that.
Moved by Anita, seconded by Donna. Anybody have any questions? All those in favor? Carried. There are no deputations this evening. And I checked with the clerk. As of 4:30, there were no questions from the public. So we will then move on to our first staff report, which is the COVID economic recovery strategy. And I'm going to ask Sherry to begin that conversation, and then I'll move on to other councillors, and then I'm going to ask staff if they have any comments. So Sherry, do you want to go ahead, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. We're very fortunate in Selwyn in that our past councils and staff have been prudent in putting money into reserves for the rainy day, and we're now witnessing a tsunami. A lot of thought went into the motion passed along to staff, which touches on most of our residents and business owners in one way or another. And staff has done full justice in bringing back recommendations in what I think is a brilliant report. And I want to thank the management team and staff who helped put the snapshot together. There's definitely different challenges for different residents and businesses, and it is hoped all will benefit in some way. Firstly, you know that we are extending the tax payment without penalty or interest. We're also waiving other fees such as dog tags, burn permit fees, etc. We've already had a full inside two-page spread listing the businesses that are open and some with restricted services in the Herald. And the number of businesses listed was quite impressive. A multimedia campaign would begin, and where in the past the cost was shared, the township would fund it fully for $45,000. A question was asked at the Economic Development Business Committee meeting that was held last night if television could also be incorporated. It was felt, though, that it is too expensive, but perhaps we could get some advertising in lieu, and that should be explored. Not-for-profit support in form of double our usual grant to community organizations, food banks in our townships, money for community care offices, and a reduction in rent for not-for-profit lessees, and farmers markets in our township is also being recommended. A partnership with Community Futures is an exciting recommendation. A business could receive a grant for COVID-related expenses, including PPE, signage, plexiglass, partitions, etc. And the Kawartha Chamber has suggested it could be broadened to include related costs for establishing online presence. There is a program now which they have, which is ending May the 31st, and they're suggesting that we could provide an extension for some businesses that want to go that route because as we know, some have continued because they had the online presence. A question was asked at the Economic Development Committee that maybe the grant could be based on need and a percentage of cost redistribution rather than a flat fee. it would be how best to get money to those who need it most. I guess the question there would be who would administer it. And I feel the way staff has recommended it is the right way to go. And I have a question for staff. Is there a cost to administer this program through the CFDC? Are they going to be charging us for it? The Community Improvement Plan, or CIP, is an extension of what we already offer and wouldn't be available immediately, but would help businesses in 2021. Kerry will be offering support to businesses who wish to access funding from other levels of government. We would restart building activity by waiving the building permit fees on projects of $75,000 or less. And that's a great way to get the economy going again. We would assist local organizations to provide affordable recreation activities. One member of the Economic Development Committee felt supporting sports right now would be challenging because we don't know when it's going to return. In fact, the NHL has just said they're not sure when they're even going to return with their program, their games. It was suggested it possibly be used for other things. The Kawartha Chamber has suggested perhaps the money could be used for assisting families with day camps this summer. Our vendors already appreciate that we pay our bills in a timely manner, but doing so in 15 days will also help. Helping our community events is also a good move for the events that will be happening in 2021. There were a couple of recommendations made by the Economic Development Business Committee besides those I've mentioned. One is that perhaps businesses can work together. So if there's a business beside a restaurant or a bistro, they could give up their sidewalk space for dining. And the province, we're asking that the province give more notice to businesses when they intend to let them open, because past practice was they were told on a Thursday they could open on a Monday, and a lot of them have work to do to get themselves COVID ready. The mayor is going to be mentioning these things at his weekly meeting regarding the COVID recovery. The Economic Development Business Committee also recommended that areas where there's low incidence of COVID, that those areas be allowed to open as on a regional basis. And our mayor is preparing a letter to go to the mayors and the MPP on this. And I think there's mixed feelings about that, about opening regionally. Again, I thank everyone involved in this thoughtful report. Selwyn's always been a leader, and if this is supported, we will continue to be one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Sherry. And is any other council members want to speak to this report? Just show me. Okay, Anita, go ahead. And then I'll go to Donna, and then I'll go to Jerry.
I want to commend staff on the excellent report, and especially the snapshot that kind of lays it all out in a very easy to read document with the background or information in the actual report. So I want to commend the staff on that. And I know that for people who may be looking at the report and also the snapshot, that sticker value of $561,000 might seem kind of scary, but on the other hand, we know that the money is available and it's going to a great cause in helping our local communities and service organizations. So I think it's a great report and great recommendations.
Thank you very much, Anita. Donna?
Yes, thank you very much. Congratulations to staff. I am very proud to represent a municipality that has gone to these lengths to help residents, organizations, and members of the public. I also thank Sherry for her excellent summary of the report. I had a few questions and comments about some of the things that the Economic Development Committee mentioned. and also about some things in the document. So I'm not sure if you want me to do that now, Mr. Mayor, or not.
Donna, if I could just for a second, I'm going to let Jerry make some opening comments or some comments, and then I'll go back to you for your specific questions, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, Jerry. Over to you, Jerry. You need to press your space.
Yeah, the space bar wasn't working for some reason. No, I don't have any opening comments. I'm in the same boat as Donna. I've got some questions and looking for clarification. So if Donna wants to carry on, I'm fine.
Okay, Donna, go ahead with your questions.
Okay, the first one is a comment related to the Economic Development Committee's comments, saying that perhaps the money allocated for sports teams could be used in some other area. I do not agree with that. They will start at some point, and I think the money needs to be saved to help them. The idea about helping businesses with an online presence at the chamber, I'm not sure the cost of that. Does the deputy mayor know that? No. So I guess that could be pursued, but we'd have to know the cost of that first. The issue about being in a low COVID area and allowing businesses and giving people more freedom. I have had a personal experience for 2 weekends at a golf course. And last week, it was very, very tight. And this week, you wouldn't know it was the same place. The rules had relaxed and the people had relaxed considerably. So I would have some concerns about relaxing rules or businesses and so on early, because it was quite shocking to us how things had changed in 1 week. As you give people an inch and they tend to take a mile. I was wondering, I'm sorry that I missed the publication in the Herald, and I was wondering if staff would have a copy of that document related to the businesses. I'd like to have a copy for myself. And my other question was, how soon, or I'm not sure if staff knows the answer to this either, would the Community Futures Development Corporation be ready to start this initiative? So those are 2 questions that possibly staff could answer.
Okay, thank you, Donna, and Janice, or whoever wants to talk about the CF timing.
Sure. So in terms of the Herald article, we'd have to get some original copies from Terry, but or we can send a PDF if that's sufficient. You can let us know. In terms of the first question that Sherry asked when she was speaking to the report, in terms of whether or not there would be an administrative charge from CFTC, that is something we would have to talk about. We didn't talk about that the first time we spoke with Gail. But certainly we have another meeting set up with her for next week, so we would work out all of those details. In terms of the timing, they would be very willing to get going as quickly as possible, so we would have to work out all the criteria and the guidelines, but they were keen on the idea and felt that they could get it going in June.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your questions, Donna?
Yes, it does.
Okay, Jerry, do you have some questions?
I do. Thank you. Through you two, I guess, the group and staff. I think it's great, and I'll get to my overall comments at the end. But I do have some concerns, or not really concerns, I guess, questions with regards to 4A2 on the number 2 on the multimedia campaign. You know, I love the idea of doing a media campaign. I think it's important. You know, it shows we're already being leaders here, and I think it really shows our leadership that we're going this far with the media. However, the Lakefield Herald's a great paper, local wise. And I would assume now that maybe not everybody gets the Lakefield Herald. Those who get it live within the area, I would assume. I don't think the reach is that far reaching. So I think we need to make sure that we're expanding this fast. The Peterborough Examiner and Peterborough this week, I don't know who's reading those. I really don't, because I've stopped getting the Peterborough this week. The Examiner, I look at the you know, the homepage basically and pick an article I want to read. I firmly believe that TV is where it's at. I mean, we've all been there. Anytime somebody sees you on, or you're on checks or whatever, they say, "Oh, Jesus, I saw you on TV." I don't know what it costs, and maybe Carrie or staff could answer that after they've looked into it, if they've said it was too expensive. But for $45,000, you know, maybe limit the newspaper stuff, up the TV budget, and push yourself into between 6 and 6:30. Because I typically watch the news until the weather. The weather, if you can get on either end, I know it's expensive there, and you probably can't, because I tried before and it was cost prohibitive. But even if you get between 6 and 6:30, I think that's a great point, or a great target to hit if we can. So I think we should take a look at that. And if it means upping the budget from $45,000, I can live with that. I honestly can, because I think that's the best way to get it. Newspapers, they're great. I love them. I love to feel them. I read them on the weekends, but they just don't work. So that's my concern. So maybe Carrie or somebody on the member of staff want to maybe speak to that, or do you want me to keep asking my questions as we go along? Do you want to do them one by one?
Why don't you ask all your questions and then we'll have staff respond to each one.
All right, thank you. So point 4, which is the financial incentives. So with regards to the reimbursement for Lexan, sanitizers, masks, things like that, my world headquarters is registered here in Bridgenorth right now. My office is in Peterborough. I do my work out of Peterborough. Would I qualify for that? And what about home-based businesses? Will they qualify for that? So, or is it just brick and mortar? I think we need to be clear on that. Otherwise, everybody's coming to the well, which, you know, if they need it, great. If they don't need it, people may take advantage. So I think I'm just looking for some clarification. Brick and mortar or registered corporations to Selwyn. With regards to point 5, sorry, I just got to keep switching screens here. With regards to point 5, the support businesses to access federal, provincial, and municipal programs. I guess this is for Carrie. And I guess the question is, how many businesses do you figure you've been in contact with during this whole COVID thing? How many have contacted Carrie to reach out and for questions or asking for help? How many have said that they won't make it through this in Selwyn? And the fourth question is, and the same question I asked Lane, because I think it speaks to the health of our community, in how many businesses that you've talked to took up the 40K if they were able to with the payroll parameters there from 50 to $1 million, and then they dropped 20 and 1.5. How many have taken up CEWS? How many have taken up the 10% as well on the payroll? Those, because again, I think that speaks to the health of our business sector here, and I think that's important. Same as when again, when Lane said, you know, a lot of the people are paying the PAPs and the checks, and not a lot of people didn't want the deferral. Point 6 regarding the building department and the permits, I think that's excellent. However, I think I don't see a start and an end date. So I don't know if that's a fluid situation still, or whether it's going to start in September and go for a year. Does it go October for 6 months? I don't think that's in there. As far as point 7 with the sports teams, if we're going to do $10,000, would it be easier to divide that number by the user groups and let them do what's best with that money where they see fit? So if it costs them $10,000 for nice, easy numbers, if it costs them $10,000 for a hockey season and they get 2,000 of that, then that cost for 8,000 is passed on. So they know the right way to deal with it or deal with that money because they're sitting in that seat, rather than us saying, you know what, we're going to give you ice time. Well, maybe that's not exactly what they needed or whatever. Just throwing that out there. Overall, we're leaders in this, and I want to thank all the staff involved for their efforts. There must have been some great brainstorming situations there, and there's a ton of well thought out ideas. There really are, and I think it's excellent. I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank Andy for his leadership on this project. And looking at my screen here, everything looks good on paper, but the execution of this plan will have to be the number one thing we do. It is absolutely paramount. We don't execute properly, this was all for naught. So I think we need to hammer this home, get our message out there that we're trying to help, and make sure we get the monies where they need to be. Thanks.
Thank you, Jerry. I hope staff wrote down those questions. I did if they didn't, but I'll turn it over to Janice and you can answer them or direct them to whichever staff member you would like to address Jerry's points.
Okay, so I think if I recall the first one, it was with regard to the multimedia marketing campaign. So I'm going to ask Angie to address that question. Okay, thank you for the question. So just in terms of some of the components of the plan, which you wouldn't have had all the detail on, the Lakefield Herald, it does have 2,000 weekly paid circulations. So I'm just trying to give you a sense of who this is covering. Their audience is about the 50+ range. In terms of print media, they are kind of our local paper, and you are correct, Jerry. It does have some limitations. So that's why we picked the publication Kawartha Now. It's essentially an online news piece, and it does cover a broader region. So it covers the county of Peterborough, Kawartha Lakes, Northumberland, Hastings, and Haliburton. There are, in this region, over 430,000 residents, cottagers, and visitors. And the reach for this publication is about 40,000+ page reads every day. The audience is a bit of a broader audience, 35 to 64, and it has a pretty good proportion of both male and female readers. Of course, we've got our radio advertising, so we're proposing that we do a blitz on radio. Again, in order to get the coverage that we want, we need to have regular radio advertising. So we're looking at about 140 ads, pardon me, I think it was per month or per week, sorry. Yeah, 140 ads per month. And the radio reach would extend across a broad spectrum of ages and both male and female viewers. We can definitely look at TV. TV is the same as radio. You need a lot of it, and it's very expensive to produce. Knowing that we wanted to get out of the gate as quickly as possible, all of the content for these types of media programs would be fairly quick to turn around and get going. And again, we were just trying to hit as many media platforms as possible. So that was the rationale for the way we set out the plan. And of course, we've got Facebook and Instagram paid advertising in there as well.
Just before you get on to the next point, Jerry, you wanted to respond to that?
Thank you. So thanks, Angie, for that. So I guess my question, I've got a couple of them now. So Kawartha Now, is that the one that you only have so many page views a month before you have to subscribe as well, or provide details of who you are?
I don't know all the details of the subscription for Kawartha Now, Jerry. Sorry.
Okay.
Angie, I can answer that.
Okay.
You don't need a subscription for kawarthanow.com.
Yep, thank you. And I had one more and I forgot it. Okay, carry on. Thank you.
Okay.
Donna, you just wanted to, just before you go to the next question, I think Donna wanted to comment on that.
Yes, I agree with Jerry about TV, and maybe we could get some free TV coverage if our mayor or our CAO did an interview with the press for the television and had it on the 6 o'clock news or whatever. They're always putting I don't want to say bad news stories, but that they do put all types of stories on the news, so we could get ask for an interview and say that we have an exciting program that we'd like to promote, inform the public. It would be maybe only 1 or 2 shot deal, but it would be free.
Actually, Donna, that did come up last night at our EDBC meeting, and that was the approach that we were going to take. So we could actually focus and highlight on specific business sectors, maybe actually get checks to cover some of our local businesses, you know, interview members of council. There are businesses that are pivoting and doing some pretty innovative things, and we know that they're doing some of that kind of coverage in the city of Peterborough. So there's no reason why we can't get them out here in our area.
Jerry, did you want to make a comment?
Please, thank you. Through you, I just remember my other point. So if we do a television ad, does that become our proprietary property? So if we do one ad with them, get the production done, we own that. Then we can use it to use Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever we want. Same as the radio content. Does that become our property?
I would have, well, first of all, I don't know all the details on producing like a TV ad. So I'm not equipped to answer the question. I suspect that we would have to arrange for the production. We may be able to do that through a third-party source or directly through checks. I don't know what their capability is like at their location anymore. But yeah, feasibly that we could create the video and have it available to, you know, have on our YouTube channel. But we can do that now. Like, we can do that quite easily now through Megan.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
I've got others, Jerry, that just want to step in on this point. So Anita first, and then Donna, back to Donna.
Okay, so yeah, just with regards to the checks commercials, just as an example, my sister owns a store in Peterborough, and she does commercials like probably about 2 or 3 times a week. I don't know how much it costs her, but then she actually has a YouTube channel where she can upload all of her commercials, so people can actually go back and see all the commercials that she has done over the years.
Donna, you wanted to add something?
I was just going to say, if we do pay for a commercial, some of the ones that are produced locally, some of those singing ones drive me crazy. Don't get us singing.
No singing. Jerry.
Now you got just 3%, just 3, it's running through my head, thanks. I think we need to, I'm getting sued. I'd like to see us at least take a look at the cost if we could. I think that would be, I think that'd be good.
Okay, to bring this one to just bring this part to a conclusion, I think what staff is, or excuse me, what council is asking staff, we're happy with the media campaign, but what we'd like you to do, and to bring it back to us, is to explore what the cost would be and whether we could incorporate TV into the campaign. So that's a request, I think, from all of council members, as for staff to come back with us on. Sherry, did you want to add to that?
Yes, I would like to add to it. I also think that there's a large audience in Durham, and we never seem to go that direction, but the people who move out here seem to come this way to move out here. So I'm not a marketing guru, but maybe Structure Harris could look at doing something in the Durham region as well.
So another request in terms of exploring it is looking at the broader region. If I could just ask, when the phone line is open, I don't know if others are hearing that interference. So that seems to be coming off the phone connect because everybody else is muted. So I don't know what's happening there. Thanks for muting it. So I would ask people just to unmute when they're speaking. It just makes it a little easier. So I think that answers the media question, and we know where we want to go from there. So Jerry's next question, Janice, was about how we determine the type of residency. Is it somebody who actually is got a store and doing business here, or is it somebody who just has their address in Selwyn? I think I'm recapping what Jerry said.
I would suggest that the requirement would be that they actually have a location in Selwyn.
Okay, thank you. The next question was, I think some questions around the kind of activity has been inbound to our economic development. How many businesses have we dealt with? What's our judgment on their use of the programs that are out there? Just, just numbers and type of inquiries that we're getting. So I'll leave it to staff to reply to that.
Okay, it's Carrie here. I have been in direct contact with around 100 businesses within the township, either through email, phone call, and addressed specific concerns or questions that they had. We also have a business email list is almost 500 businesses that we have been sending out a business e-newsletter to, which is highlighting all of the programs locally, provincially, and federally. We have received numerous requests for clarifications on the provincial orders and whether or not Pacific businesses are allowed to be opened. I've been directing those businesses to the Provincial Business Information Hotline, as they are the experts on what's either required to be open, requirements to open, as well as if they're allowed to open. Some businesses have communicated they were already planning on doing online sales and increasing the online presence. COVID-19 pushed them to do it sooner. So they're pivoting already into new business models and being very innovative and proactive. Businesses have expressed their appreciation of the downloadable posters that we have on our website under the business resource page. We did have a couple requests for additional posters that township staff put together and provided those resources as well to businesses. Overall, through all of the communications, either when something comes out that needs to be sent immediately to businesses, I send it directly to the business email list that we have. And all the communication I've been emphasizing to businesses through phone call, email, or e-newsletter. If they need assistance with anything, please reach out to me. If I don't have the answer, I'll do some research, try and get back to them and connect them with the resources that they need for their Pacific business. Now, Jerry, I know you were asking specifically regarding the federal funding programs that were available, the business account and wage subsidy programs. We have been highlighting that on our website as well as in the business e-newsletter, and no businesses at this point have reached out for guidance or support on accessing those funds. So if they do need to, I can try to assist them through that. Unfortunately, at this time, I don't have those numbers because I haven't been asking specifically that question.
Thank you, Carrie. Jerry, did you want to follow up that?
Yeah, just a follow up, if I could, for Carrie there. I was sort of getting at, just in your conversations with people, and you're stopping in to see places, and you're on the phone talking to the people. What kind of shape are they in? What kind of vibe are you getting from the people? I know a percent would be tough. Lane's got the numbers there, so it might not have been fair asking that question. But I'm just the feel of what's going on. Are they going to be there? Are the programs helping them, or where everybody stands, I guess?
So overall, through my communication with businesses, it has been positive for the township because they are being proactive and pivoting their business models. Things that they did have planned, like online sales and increasing online presence, was in their work plans for future, but they've just put that forward to do now. There is some, for example, the restaurant industry. I learned last night at the committee meeting that one is for sale, and there is a couple that are unable to offer takeout services, so they're completely closed. So that is unfortunate at this time. I have through communication reached out to them, asked them if there was anything we could do to assist, and they have not followed up with any requests from me at this time.
Donna, you had a question?
Yes, through you. This is related to the business incentive program, and it's to staff. I was just wondering how the decision will be made as to which businesses will get how much and how that will be divided up, because I'm sure that once this is opened up, that money could be gone in 10 minutes. So I just wondering how that was going to be handled.
Okay, let's just, Donna, we'll answer that in a second. There was two more of Jerry's questions that needed an answer, and then we'll put yours third, okay? So the next question from Jerry was the timing around the building permit fees. I think it's 5 months, but I'm gonna ask staff just to confirm.
Yes, so on the chart under the restarting building activities section, time frame for waiver, the suggestion is June 1st to October 31st. And there were some statistics up above in terms of the numbers of permits typically within that time period. So it's a busy time period for the types of permits that we're really trying to generate.
Okay, so Jerry, I think Jerry said he's got that. And then the last question was around the issue of helping people out to recreate. And Jerry was suggesting it might be as simple as just taking what you have and dividing it amongst the user groups and let them decide how to use it. I think the staff comment right now is not to take that off the table, but basically to have a discussion with those user groups to see what the best way is to use the money. Did I understand that correctly? That what you want to do in the short term is have that discussion with those groups and hear from them the best way to spend it. I think that's what I saw.
Yeah, for sure. So that's definitely what we were thinking in terms of the user groups. The other area there that we're exploring is the possibility of a partnership with Jumpstart Canada to provide some support directly to families who may need the financial support to allow their children to get back into minor sports.
Okay. Thank you. And then to go back to Donna's question, which correct me if I'm wrong, Donna, is basically how are you going to decide who gets the 200 their piece out of the 250,000? So one of the ways of ensuring that spreads far is that there is a maximum amount. I think it's set at 2,500 per business, so that it will not get all gobbled up by one individual. I think the second part of that is there will be specific criteria that you need to apply for. I think a third piece was just answered to Jerry's question, was that it has to be a Selwyn operating business. And so to Donna's point though, so there are those criteria. Are there other ways of making sure that the money is distributed, or what? I should ask, what other criteria are you looking at? Are you still there, staff?
Okay. Sorry, I put myself on hold. So, yeah, for sure. So the criteria and the guidelines, we'd have to do some work with Gail, but I think you could put some criteria around the types of businesses. So focusing on businesses who've had to be closed, or very open for very limited operations. So I think Gail would really be able to help us based on some of the other programs that she's been working with in establishing what those specific criteria are going to be to determine, you know, what is a business in need.
Okay. Okay, Donna, go ahead. Go ahead, Donna.
Is it the Community Futures that will be making the final decision on who gets what?
The criteria and the manner in which the money is dispersed is ours. They are our delivery agent, and they will act on the directions that we give.
Just to give one example, I was talking to a restaurant owner yesterday who was researching touchless taps, and one touchless tap was going to be $1,500. So it's going to be very costly for people.
There's no question about that. And just to make it clear, we're there to give people some help. In many cases, it's a piece of the puzzle. It can, depending on the type of business, and Sherry's nodding her head because she at the EBDC meeting last night, depending on the type of business, it could be a very expensive process, whereas others it's a lot less. And it all depends on the manner in which you tend to interact with your customers. So, Sherry, go ahead. Janice was going to say something, and then I'll go to Sherry.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for Donna. So for sure, we would work with the CFDC to develop all the criteria and all the guidelines. And then at that point, once that's developed, CFDC would administer the program completely for us. So they would accept the applications, they would vet the applications, and they would make the decisions in terms of who receives the funding.
Thank you.
Based on the criteria we've established.
Sherry, you.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that with all these additional recommendations, I think it's important and everybody realizes that time is of the essence. So I hope it doesn't hold things up too much, that we can start getting the ball rolling so the people that really need the help will be getting it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Just to the point that Sherry made, I've been taking some notes here. So council, and I have some of my own comments to make, but council generally is supportive of this, but they're asking for 3 specific activities to happen. Not that anything should wait for this, but 3 specific activities. Number 1 is to take a look at the media buy and see whether television is feasible and whether we should broaden out the marketplace in which we're playing. That doesn't stop us from developing the marketing plan, but just staff or council would like staff to come back on that point. The second point is staff would like us to come back, or like staff to come back once the terms and conditions have been worked out with Community Futures. So we don't want you to stop working on it. Just when you've been able to work out those terms and conditions, bring them back to council. And the third one is to hear the results of the conversation with the sports user groups as to what it is they believe would be the best use of that money. So those are, it's a work in progress. It's not to stop anything, getting this out as quickly as possible. But if staff could report back on their work on those 3 issues, I think council has indicated that that's what they want to hear. And if people could just nod and that's those are the 3 things. Okay. I'm going to make some final comments on this unless anybody else wants to make any more comments on this. Okay, not seeing any, then I'll just make my comments. First of all, I want to echo what the deputy mayor said, and I think other councillors said, to thank staff for the tremendous work that they've done in taking our council's direction and putting substance on our directions. And so this has been great to see, and it's, from what I understand, it was a real team effort to do this, and so to express that appreciation. I also want to take an opportunity, though, to thank council, my fellow council members, on two bases. One, for taking what I believe is an important step to proactively understand that our community has taken and is taking a significant impact from COVID-19, and to the extent that we're able to get out there and to help the broader community, including the business community, but other components of it as well. And I just want to thank council for their willingness to do that. And the second part of thanking council, and Sherry mentioned this, I'm the newbie on this council, and so I want to recognize the prudent fiscal management that the past councils and councils before that, as well as the staff, have in managing the resources of our community. The reason why we're in a position to respond to a rainy day is because over the years, we've planned for the rainy day, understanding that at some point we may need to use it. So I want to thank the previous councils, the members here who are all part of that group, as well as the staff, for giving us or putting us in a position where we can provide this kind of assistance to our community. So again, thank you very much, staff. There is a motion that is there that we receive for information, that staff be directed to proceed with the initiatives as outlined in the strategy, subject to those 3 points that that I just enunciated, and that council wishes to proceed with the CIP component. They wanted that separately. Sherry? Sherry wants to move that. Anita wants to second that. Okay, and Donna wants to call for a recorded vote.
How did you know that?
I just guessed. So, Madam Clerk, this is a recorded vote. I would ask you to call the roll.
Sorry about that. Okay, sorry. Deputy Mayor Senes?
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell?
Yes.
Councillor Ballantyne?
Yes.
Councillor Herron? Sorry, Councillor Herron?
Yeah. The space bar didn't work. Yes.
Councillor Locke?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, colleagues. We'll now go on to the next item, which is the departmental work plans. And so we've had the 10 work plans distributed. So what I'm going to do is call each one, and then I'll recognize anybody who puts up their hands who wants to comment on that. So we'll go first to the administrative officers work plan. Does anybody have a question or a comment on that? I see Donna, go ahead.
Yes, through you to Janice. The third section on committees relating to Wild Rice Communication Group appointed by council, and awaiting further information from Parks Canada re Wild Rice. I was wondering if we could actually send them a reminder that people will be soon applying to do their cutting of the channels, And before we know it, the rice will be harvested, and we haven't made any progress in 15 years. I know that we've sent many letters, but I don't think we can just let it lie dormant.
Yeah, for sure, Donna. We could come up with a letter to go off to Trent Severn Waterway to that effect. Parks Canada.
Thank
Okay, anybody else want to comment on the Chief Administrative Officer? Okay, I don't see anybody, so we'll move on to Building and Planning. Does anybody have a question of Building and Planning? I see Anita and then Sherry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just looking at your year-to-date stats, obviously almost 50% down on construction value, which is totally understandable with COVID-19. My question to Rob is that, are there any large projects waiting in the wings that are just waiting for the province to amend their restrictions? I know that they've amended a lot of their restrictions, but I'm just wondering, are there projects that are waiting for the province to fully open up, I guess would be the question.
Thanks, Anita. Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I think the big difference between more particularly, we had one large over $3 million project last year in the first quarter, which really helped the numbers in 2019. We generally issued a permit for.
Rob, it's Andy here. We're losing you. So,
are you? Okay.
Yeah. It's probably the internet connection wherever you are.
Okay. Yeah. So is this any better at all, or I'll speak louder? Maybe is that working? Yeah.
That's a little better now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So to the second part of Anita's question, yes, we did issue a permit for a 10,000 square foot addition. Portion of
Rob, we've lost it again. And so maybe what you can do is phone into the because I think the conference number is open, is to phone into the conference number and we can ask the question that way. And what I'm going to do while you're doing that, I know that Sherry and Donna have questions as well. So why don't, if you can, Rob, can you dial into the conference line? Well, Rob's doing that.
Andy, he's actually right here with us now. He's
okay. So he can do that really easily.
Over to Rob.
Go ahead, Rob, and answer Anita's second question.
Yeah, the traffic was really good, so sorry about that. Yeah, so to Anita's second question, yeah, so we have issued a permit to Central Smith Creamery to complete their 10,000 square foot addition to their current facility. And also we issued a commercial permit for the reconstruction of the Rona, part of the Rona building in Lakefield. So the front half of that building is being demolished and reconstructed. So yeah, so we've also obviously had quite a number of permits since the province essentially opened the doors to all construction as of May 19th.
Okay. Thank you. And Sherry is next, and then Donna.
Thank you, through you. I'm just looking at the official plan here on the work plans, and are there going to be, is it expected there's going to be additional public meetings, and what happens if we don't come out of this where the public can get together? Has there been thought around what will happen in the future with things like this?
Sorry, Sherry, are you referencing the county update, COP? Yeah. Yeah. So the project is still ongoing. We are meeting periodically through virtually. Obviously there are things that are delayed as a result of what's gone on, but we are still pecking away at things, right? So in terms of the final combination of all this work will require that we have public meetings and public open houses. And of course, until things change to allow for those, I don't think we'd want to move forward with, an amendment of this magnitude without certainly giving the public an opportunity to hear more about the project and to provide their input.
I wonder if it ends up that we can't do that kind of thing. Is there a plan B?
Well, we haven't debated that yet because we still have quite a bit of work to do. I suspect, though, if this progresses, beyond what I guess is anticipated to be 12 or 18 months, then we'll have to consider what to do, right? Because we still need to move forward. And at that point, presumably, the province maybe would have put some thought into, what could be done differently to achieve what the Planning Act intends, right? Which is to provide a ample opportunity for debate and input.
Okay, thank you.
Donna?
Yes, through you to Rob. Rob, I'm looking at your work plan and I see that Jeanette's name is on a lot of items. I have great concern for Jeanette, but I also have great concern for you if you're taking on her duties. I just wondered if there's a plan, if she needs to be away longer to get you some help.
Yeah, we've actually we managed to secure some support from the County of Peterborough. They have a few planners on staff. Caitlin Robinson is the planner that's assigned to do any Planning Act applications that are specific to Selwyn Township, and so they've agreed to allow her to support the township directly. And she's been great. She's a very quick learner, has the right background, obviously, and has been supporting us that way. There will be, Jeanette will be back. She's just working through a few things, but in the interim, as I said, I think we're well set up for completing the workload that we have, and we've of course modified the workload to accommodate the fact that certain things can't be done that would be typically done by Jeanette during this particular crisis.
Thank you.
Of yourself.
Well, thank you. I will.
Okay, anything else on building and planning? Not seeing anything. We'll go to community and corporate services. Anybody have a question on that? And I seem to have lost Jerry. Well, we'll start with Donna and hopefully Jerry will be back.
Oh, there he is. Through you to Angie, I'm on page 2, the very top. Well, it's actually in the first section, but it goes on to the second page. It's annual business licensing, including trailer parks, bed and breakfast, refreshment vehicles. I know the answer about trailer parks and refreshment vehicles, but what's happening with bed and breakfast?
Yeah, we would be in a position to renew those bed and breakfast licenses. They are an essential business that would be permitted to be open.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anybody else for the clerk's department?
If I could just interrupt, Mr. Mayor, Gary Herron's just logged off for a moment. He's going to try to reconnect, so he'll just be a couple minutes.
Okay, well, let's just take a slight pause while we wait for that to happen.
Can I leave for a second?
Sure.
Okay, Jerry should be coming back in.
Welcome back, Carrie. The others have just taken a quick break and we'll resume in just a minute. Okay, Anita's back, Donna's back, Carrie's back, and Jerry is reconnected and will be back in his seat in just a minute, and then we'll continue. Okay, we're all back. We were in the process of questions on community and corporate services. Does anybody have any additional questions? Okay, not seeing any, we'll move on to the finance department. Any questions for finance? Donna?
Through you to Lane. Lane, I see that Scott Warren is still on a number of items, and I thought he was retiring in April. Has he continued on with us?
Yes, we're fortunate that Scott's staying on with us throughout the summer at least, and we have an opportunity to chat with Scott to see what his future plans are going to be in a little while.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank you. Anybody else for finance? Okay, not seeing any. Anybody for the fire department? Anita, on the fire department.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how the COVID-19 is affecting our local firefighters, and with the different types of responses, whether or not COVID is impacting it at all.
Gord, are you there?
Clicking. Okay, there we go. My finger's not too good in that. So yeah, Anita, our people are really good spirits right now. Things are running well. We've a lot of work to change how we do things. And the call volume's actually down a little bit. So medical calls, I think everybody's a little nervous, to put that call in. So we do attend, and things are running really smooth. So actually, when council's done here in a few minutes, by the sound of it, I'll go over to Tuesday night's training. So we're doing that all online too. So roughly the same thing here. So everybody gets to say for an hour every week, and yeah, things are going good in here.
Follow up, Anita?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. With regards to fires and grass fires and that sort of thing, is there more or less this season so far compared to last year?
No, it wasn't actually too bad. We only had 2 minor grass fires. We end up helping a big one with Duro Dummer just for the automatic aid, but no, really it's been quiet. We've had a few normal burning complaints and stuff like that, but that's just a normal thing. So it's been a little better since we let the brush back in the dump, and yeah, people are happy. So there's a lot of phone calls to the department when they're going to open, or can we burn the brush in the backyard, especially a built up area. That was a big concern, but now that's opened up, that's really, the phone calls have went probably 50% less in the last few days. So no, it's good. Things are greened up, and it's been good summer, or good spring so far.
Donna, you had a question?
Yes, through you to Gord. I know the pancake breakfast is canceled. Is it totally canceled for the year? Or are you going to try and reschedule if possible?
No, I don't think so, Donna. I think, it's always been a kind of a spring thing that gets everybody out of, get out of the winter spring mode and get into summer. So hasn't been really much discussion yet because it's kind of hard to get everybody together other than, get everybody on a view like this. But it'll be back next spring for sure.
Let's hope so. Thank you.
Anybody else for the fire department? Not seeing anything. Anybody for human resources? Nobody for human resources? Okay. Library. Any questions on the library? Okay, not seeing any. Parks and Rec. Any questions for Parks and Rec? Anita.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to confirm that there was a township post on Facebook with regards to the Lakefield Beach. There was one, and then there was another one, and then it seemed like the second one was edited out again. So I'm just, I guess I'm personally confused as to whether it's just a walkthrough at the beach or whether people can actually congregate at the beach. I know with, groups of 5 and the 6-foot distance and all that, but like I said, there was first the one Facebook post, and then there was a second one, and then a third one. And so what's the actual, what are people actually allowed to do at Lakefield Beach?
Yes,
Janet,
Anita, I think the changes to the post were related to some questions that we had. So the beaches have been open for walk-through access all along. I think when the order changed around recreational amenities where people could now sit on a bench or be in a picnic shelter, so sitting on the beach is very similar to sitting on a bench. So I think the clarification was around, yes, you could sit on the beach, you could swim in the water if you so chose, although it's quite cold. And that's just consistent really with what's in the order. So it was just really clarifying that. So people can walk through the beach, they can sit on the beach, they can wade in the water. They cannot gather in groups of greater than 5. They do need to maintain that physical distance. The signage we have everywhere notes those requirements, as well as if you're sick, stay home. So yeah, the facilities have all been signed, and the posts were to clarify based on questions we were getting.
Donna, you had a question?
Yes, a comment first that the 2020 services guide is excellent again. That's just a comment, and congratulations. I don't see Mike here, but pass on to him and his staff. And I see Tiffany Jacobs' name on the work plan in a lot of places. I wonder, should we put her replacement's name there? It's a big deal, but just a comment.
Yeah, we did have a contract staff to replace Tiffany, but unfortunately that was one of the staff that was laid off. So there's really nobody replacing Tiffany at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other Parks and Rec? Not seeing any. We'll go to Public Works. Any questions on Public Works? Donna.
Through you to Rick. Rick, I was wondering, we weren't able to finish resurfacing projects last year. I'm thinking specifically of one in my neighborhood, which is Cedarvale, Mystic Meadows. Would they go first on the list this year because they were missed last year and were to be done?
Donna, we don't usually start right with them because we try to work in a group, like we'll do all Ennismore or all that area at once. So whenever we get them all ready for them to do, it just saves them moving in and out of the neighborhood. So however we get them situated, but we plan on we're starting to get them ready right now. So they'll be in there in the next week or so getting them ready.
Thanks, Rick. Just as long as you are focusing on Like, you know, I'm sure there are ones in other parts of the municipality that were missed as well. That's just one that I know about.
Thank you, Donna. Any other questions to Public Works? Okay, and finally, any questions on the strategic plan report card? Okay, not seeing any. Oh, sorry, Anita.
I just want to congratulate staff on another excellent report card. It's very well done, and the pictures and the layout is great.
Great. Any other questions from anybody? Not seeing any. I look for a motion to receive. That from Donna and Anita. You want to second that? Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is carried. And we'll go on to the next staff report, which is the financial statement review. Lane, do you want to speak to that?
The report's just provided there to council. It is up to April as opposed to the first quarter. Had tried to go through and provide a bit of an overview where things were just a little bit out of whack, and we typically do that every year just so we could take a look and see, you know, if, for instance, if insurance is paid at the start of the year, that kind of throws some things out of sync a little bit. We haven't made the taxation entry, of course, because we haven't billed it yet. Some comments generally on the building permit revenues, which I think came up before. A little bit of a concern about the winter activities because we have spent quite a bit of our snow plowing budget already. We have a bit left in the sanding and salting, and I think we should be okay as long as our tender there comes in okay. And you know, while we did have ice out early at the arenas, we should have some savings there. The unfortunate thing is that our summer operations are really when our costs are traditionally lower, and we don't have any revenues coming in to offset those lower costs. So some concern there about what the arena operations are going to be like, but that's a general overview, and then of course the summary documents are there as well. So if council has any questions, I can endeavor to answer those.
Are there any questions of Lane? Not seeing any. Oh, Gary, go ahead.
I just want to get a comment in for Lane here because you know, I want to make sure that, you know, everybody knows the work this guy's doing. Like, what a great day not to be named Lane Vance right now. The financial nightmare that he's trying to keep together here. So just kudos to you, Lane. Thanks for keeping us all up to date. And I just want to take that opportunity to say great job as always. And you know, Andy mentioned it earlier about the fiscal responsibility, and here it is coming home to roost. So just thanks, man.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other comments, questions on that report? We need somebody to move receipt and somebody to second that. Anita will move and Adana will second. All in favor? Carry. Okay, we have consent items. Any items that councilors would like to have pulled? Anybody want to pull a consent item? No items to be pulled, therefore we could entertain a motion to receive all of the consent items 5, 6, 7, and 8. Anita wants to move that. Sherry will second it. All those in favor? Okay, the consent items are carried. We have no petitions, and that will take us to council portfolio updates, and I'll go to the Deputy Mayor, Sherry, first.
Ghosties. Okay.
You have the floor, Sherry.
Economic development, business attraction, and retention. We dealt with the economic development business and committee meeting in the earlier COVID recovery report. Many business owners aren't sure where they're going to be, and they figure it's going to take until December for them to know that, because there's a lot of unknowns between now and then. A number of business owners that I spoke to are not inclined to get into any additional debt. So there are loans being offered out there, but they don't want to go near them. They already face debt and they don't want to add to it. Many are worried about the costs to get COVID ready. The dentists, the hair salons, the restaurant owners will have additional expensive costs, and they don't know what limitations are going to be put on them. For example, in restaurants, is it going to be 50% in-house capacity as opposed to what did exist before? And will this be enough for them to even entertain opening in the first place? The Cassie's Bistro, you may know, is listed for sale. And many other businesses, while they can open, have chosen to do so with limitations. Our decisions today that we made will help some of them to survive. Some businesses are busier than ever. Pizza Villa in Bridgenorth is doing a booming business. We're having a business and planning meeting on June the 11th virtually to review the number of documents that have been prepared by the consultants, workflow, such as workflow tool, legislative primer, which would help the public, site plan process guidelines, and to go over recommendations that the consultants are going to bring forward. After we have that meeting, there's going to be a public open house through the township's website where the public can comment on the draft recommendations, and they will have from June the 15th to the 22nd to do that. Notice will go out to the public, stakeholders, council, and request that they forward comments. So I just wanted to let you know about these things that are happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Donna, did you want to on your portfolio, community services?
Yes, thank you. We had a library board meeting just this afternoon, but it was really just consolidating a lot of things that we had discussed before. We're moving ahead with purchasing 161 gift cards from local residents to distribute to the volunteers in lieu of the dinner that we provide for them each June. We've got a plan. We're going to push forward a little bit our strat plan so that we can, the staff is very busy with doing the curbside pickup, which is to start June the 1st. And I think those were most of the items. Nothing really new there. We're going to have our first Police Services Board meeting on Friday afternoon. We had the joint one with the other municipalities a few weeks ago. And hopefully we'll get an update on Black Cat on Friday afternoon. And I hadn't thought to ask Angie about the link because you had had your meeting since our last meeting and you were going to potentially do a soft launch in July. I just wonder, is that still the same time frame?
You are. Yeah, the intention is to do a soft launch sometime in July.
Thank you. Did you change any of the bus stops?
Yes, we did. You'll be happy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Donna. Anita?
Just once again, I want to give a big shout out to all the local businesses and individuals who are doing their part to play a role with it during this COVID crisis, with the innovation of hand sanitizers and masks and face shields and all that sort of thing. So once again, just a big shout out, and also to the businesses who have been innovative to be able to continue to serve the public. For those of you who have attended the Bridgenorth Remembrance Service in the past couple of years, you may remember the red-headed, red-bearded fellow who played the bagpipes. He was killed in a motorcycle crash a few weeks ago. Master Corporal Maury McCrilly, really sad. He's going to definitely be missed. He leaves behind a wife and an unborn child. The Lakefield Community Garden is having an event on June 6th, which is a week from Saturday. It's called the Great Strawberry Planting Race. 2 teams of 5 will compete to see who can plant 210 plants per team in the shortest time. And the email goes on, and I'm sure they're going to have lots of social distancing and other protocols in place, but it does sound like a fun event. I personally can't go. I have to work that day. But Don Smith from the Lakefield Community Garden sent me an email about that. And I don't know if, Sherry, I don't know if you mentioned Kingdon Timber Mart. I was in at their new store last weekend, I believe it was. It's a gorgeous store, has great, protocols in place. They have someone at the front entrance or at the entrance so you can sanitize your hands. They have arrows going in, and it's a marvelous building and excellent addition to our community.
Thank you, Anita. Jerry?
Thank you. With regards to Park and Rec, the grass looks nice. With regards to Public Works, we had a bit of a rash of garbage issues a couple weeks ago. So I think if you're talking to somebody or if somebody calls to complain about their garbage not getting picked up, people are taking their kitchen catchers and just chucking them into their garbage container and not doing them up. Those containers need to be done up. These guys are out there, and I had a couple conversations with Andy, and I mentioned, that's a little bit more dangerous than being in the hospital. These guys are out there with a set of gloves and a toque on at that time, and that's all they've got. So if you're talking to people, it seems that people got the message. We were getting a ton of phone calls. The provider was getting a bunch of phone calls, and I think we've got it nipped. I know Rick and Jennifer were getting absolutely reamed out. So like I say, I think we've got it. So if you're talking to people, a little bit of common sense. Plus, people have been home. They're seeing a lot more of the garbage getting picked up, and they're seeing what's really going on because they're home. And people are getting a little short and a little angry. So, some of that was the frustration. So if you have any complaints or people, just ask that. That's the first question. Are they tied up? They have to be tied up. That's it.
Thank you, Jerry. Just from my portfolio on government relations, just a couple of points to touch on. First of all, from Peterborough Public Health, as it would come as no surprise, their expenses are way up in trying to address the pandemic, and that's going to be an issue as we move forward in dealing with that. The province has made it clear that they will help with that. But that is a big issue. The last accounting we had had spent more than $1 million from a public health perspective on COVID-19. Now there are other areas where we are not spending some money because there are things that we can't do. We have programming that we do in the schools from public health, and clearly those types of programs are not proceeding. Last week, had an opportunity to meet with the Lake Alliance, which is an organization that brings together a number of the cottage associations for the lakes in our townships. The medical officer of health had an opportunity to speak to the group and go over some of the recommendations of public health that folks should be dealing with. The county did a presentation on recycling. We have a new contract that for many of our seasonal residents, they're just coming back to the new contract because it came into place on November the 1st. So it was an opportunity to talk a little bit about that. And they had a presentation on starry stonewort and some of the issues that are being faced in that respect. One of the things that we're doing with Peterborough Public Health is, they're trying to negotiate deal with a new agreement on septic inspections. And so one of the changes on that is that the agreement is going to be not just with the county, but with individual townships. So whatever the agreement might eventually be, it will have to come back to our council to deal with. And council will have an opportunity to speak to it. On ORCA, I think we mentioned this last time, ORCA is dealing with revenue declines in a number of areas, but their key issue right now is they can't open their campgrounds right now, the two campgrounds that they operate. And so that's, they're watching carefully what the province does in terms of that. Another initiative that I've now been working on, as you may know, the city and the county have put together through PKED a economic task force recovery plan. There is some 35 or 40 businesses that are represented on that, and what they do is they represent various sectors of the economy. They come together on a weekly basis. The mayor and the warden chair that, but there is a county councillor and a city councillor that are on it. So I have an opportunity to listen to that, and there were really 4 broad-based themes that have come out of those meetings. One is as businesses are allowed to reopen, is getting an understanding of the rules that would apply to them. And one of the points that Sherry had made earlier, getting some lead time on when they can do this. But there are 90 some odd different considerations that you need to make in terms of getting your retail operation back up. So that was one of the issues that was brought forward. Access to personal protection equipment. Most of the plans, when somebody is reopening, does require PPE for the business, so it's accessing that. Making sure that their clients are comfortable. It's one thing to be opened back up. It's also important to provide the environment so a client is comfortable to go back in to your shop or whatever, and related to that, that the labor force is feeling comfortable to come back into their businesses. So those are some of them. And the other one, and again, I think Sherry touched on this, was the whole issue of access to capital and your ability to get the kind of funding that you may need to do for a restart. The other item I want to mention is the county let the contract for the transportation master plan review. This is the 5-year review that I think is taking place after 8 years, but it will get going soon, and I am sitting on that as well. And that would be my report. So thank you, colleagues, for your reports. We'll move on to other new and unfinished business, and there is an item that has been listed on there. And Janice, do you want to speak to that for just a minute as to why we want to do this?
Sure, thank you. So we have a number of grant programs where we have received approval, and either we're partway through or just starting or just about to start. And given all of the delays that have been caused through this COVID-19 situation, we're really hopeful that the ministries will see fit and the province will see fit to provide some extensions there. So certainly with the Ministry of Transportation, our community transportation grant, we have had to delay our launch given the current circumstances. And even when we do get to launch in the summer, the environment that we're launching in obviously is not as attractive or conducive to starting a transit system. So we're really going to need some additional time there in order to give the program an opportunity to mature in order for us to really determine its feasibility in the long run. We do have the RED grant approval for the project in the village of Lakefield, so there's a lot of different components there, the trail town components, the scout building, some decorative lighting, so a lot of different components. Again, some delay there, so we're hopeful that the ministry will grant an extension. The Municipal Modernization Fund, this is the component that was the application-based part of that program, and we did apply for numerous different components to look at some pieces of our organization. Very tight timelines on that one to begin with, ending in September. And again, with all of the delays that we've had, we really need some more time to do that. The other one that we have noted here is the asset management plan. At this point, that plan would be required by July of next year, 2021. But again, just given everything that's going on, we are hopeful that we would be able to get an extension on the timeline for that to have to be prepared. The province has already provided one area of relief with the community safety and well-being plans. They were going to be due as of January 1st, 2021. The province has indicated they are going to change that date. We don't know what that new date is going to be yet. They're planning on doing some consultation on that. So we're just hoping they will follow suit with all of these other programs. I have actually spoken with ministry staff about all of these things, and it's definitely on their radar, but we just haven't heard anything about it yet. So I think having council pass a resolution to have the mayor send these letters would just be helpful. And we did actually make it broad enough that if we were to identify any other areas where we need that kind of letter, that it would authorize the mayor to do that as well.
Thank you, Janice. Donna?
I would move the recommendation.
Moved by Donna. Somebody wants to second it? Anita wants to second it. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That's carried. We now move on to the bylaw section of the agenda. So we have one bylaw arising, I believe, out of our consent agenda. That's the authorizing the development agreement, Lananet B71-19. Does everybody, yeah, Anita? Move it? Yeah. Oh, and Donna seconded. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Then we need a confirming bylaw. Sherry, seconded by Anita. All those in favor? Okay. And Mr. Herron, would you like to move a motion for adjournment? Moved by Jerry, seconded by Anita. All those in favor? Colleagues, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Staff, thank you very much for everything as well. Have a good evening, and we'll see you soon. If not, at least virtually anyway. Thank you. Bye-bye.